You guys have been asking for more indoor and turf boot reviews, so today I have 4. The $140 Nike React Gato, which I would personally say is the flagship indoor model from the Nike brand right now. The $120 Nike React Tiempo Legend 8 Pro. The $110 Nike Lunar Gato 2. And finally the $85 Nike Premier 2 Sala. These are the 4 indoor models that Nike is pushing the hardest, at least when it comes to marketing attention, and I have them all here in the latest Cardinal Red colorways. 4 different boots, 4 different price points. The question is, which one should you buy? I'm gonna go over all the details to give you a better idea of what the differences are between them, and of course take a look at how they fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more about these, please stick around and watch the entire review. And if you are interested in any of these 4 models for yourself, there will be buy it now links down below in the description of this video that'll take you to the individual review pages where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick up any of these boots below their normal retail prices. As always, if you guys do end up enjoying this video and want to see more reviews of indoor and turf boots on the channel, don't forget to support this one with a like and let me know specifically what you'd like to see reviewed down below in the comment section. And of course, if you're new here watching for the first time and don't want to miss out on weekly content on everything football boots, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. So I think we'll start with the most expensive one and then work our way down, which actually makes a lot of sense because the React Gato is the only boot with a knitted upper, where the Legend, the Lunar Gato, and the Premier 2 Sala all feature some variation of leather. Now, as expensive as the React Gatos are, I actually think they're well worth it. And I say that knowing that there are more expensive indoors on the market that I think just aren't as good. And what I like about the React Gato, unlike a lot of indoor boots in general, is that it was actually designed to be an indoor boot from the get-go. What I really like about the React Gato mainly is the comfort and just natural sensation that they provide. The highlight feature is definitely going to be this Flyknit upper, which as you can see has a very unique look to it in comparison to other Flyknit boots from Nike. A little bit of texture, but I think what's most noticeable is it doesn't have a top layer of Nike skin. That's because this Flyknit material is actually reinforced with Kevlar. I'm not exactly sure how they do it. They've not really explained the process, but you can see on this particular colorway, all of the black kind of, I guess, diamonds have a little bit of like a semi-gloss texture to them. They're slightly grippy, but it's not necessarily like Nike skin. So you end up with this very, I guess, pliable material that still has good structure to it when you tie the laces tight. And I know I've related back to the OG Nike skin upper on the Hypervenom Phantom 1 countless times on this channel, but this really is the closest thing to that Nike has produced since that OG Hypervenom. If the idea of an upper that provides the comfort of a sock, the softness of a sock, and the general touch and thickness of a pair of socks interests you, there is no better sock-like upper than this Flyknit upper on the React Gato. I really wish they would put this upper on an FG kind of regular football boot because I think it would do really well. It's that good. Now the upper is of course paired with some synthetic material running through the heel, which does end up as the top lace hole, kind of acting as a little bit of kind of a stiffer material to help lock your ankle and heel in place inside the boot, which is actually a really good idea. And they have filled in the upper through the middle with a one-piece design using a more traditional elasticated Flyknit that we've seen on so many Flyknit boots from Nike in the past. Dual lace hole system because of this setup that is a little bit more shallow, leaving you with a cleaner kind of surface to make contact with the ball across the top of the forefoot. Moving through the heel area, you do have an internal plastic heel counter. All of the boots in this video do, so do most indoors. It has mesh on the sides and then a nice synthetic suede running down the back, which I'm personally a really big fan of. Plenty of padding back there as well. Then the insole is fully removable. It features a standard mesh liner on top. It's their typical Ortholite yellow foam, but you'll notice something fairly strange in the forefoot where there's these 8 circular cutouts, which correspond with the 8 little circular bump outs of foam that are actually happening underneath the forefoot. I'm doing my best to show it to you guys. It's just not very easy to show. So those little cutouts in the insole are basically just there so the insole can lay flat through the forefoot, and those bump outs in the outsole correspond with the little pods that you have on the outsole. There are technically 9 here, but that's a dummy pod that's not connected to anything. But these individual pods, which are cutouts on the opposite side as well, technically are free to kind of move up and down on their own. This is not there for the sake of traction. It kind of looks like a bunch of little suction cups. Does not have that effect, unfortunately, but instead this is what they call their Touch 360 system, where the idea is that these can flex when your foot is on the ball. It's supposed to allow for better feel when the ball is under your foot. The reality is if you didn't know that feature was there, you would never really kind of feel anything different. It feels fairly normal, but it is a cool idea, just not one that I think is overly effective. As far as the rest of the outsole is concerned, it is the React Gato, so it does use their React foam as a midsole cushion that is most thick through the heel and midfoot area, and then definitely thins out through the forefoot. Nonetheless, it provides really good impact protection, but doesn't feel overly cushioned in my opinion. You still sit nice and low to the ground, but you're not gonna feel like your feet are super sore after running around on a very unforgiving kind of indoor court surface that really has no padding to it. You can see there is a little bit of a rubber lip running through the forefoot and toe box area, as well as a little plastic extension right here. So if you wanna do some toe passes or even a quick little toe punt, which you might need to do in a tight space, they give you that little extra protection. Also great for the sake of durability. And then the outsole, this of course being the indoor version, which is the only variation they make of the React Gato. No turf model, unfortunately. It's a decent traction pattern. It doesn't clog up with dust all that easily, which is something that I like. But it's not anything groundbreaking based on what I've tried. It gets the job done, and also because the traction pattern is quite dense, it's relatively durable as well. So if you wanted to use this in the streets on concrete or something like that, they seem to hold up pretty well. Next up, we have the $120 Nike React Tiempo Legend 8 Pro. So this is $20 less expensive than the React Gato that I just showed you, but entirely different in terms of the upper that they're using, because there's no Flyknit here. Instead, you're going to find a calfskin leather upper with the diamond texture, which is fairly similar to what you're going to find on the Legend 8 Pro FG or outdoor boots that I'm sure more of you guys are way more familiar with. That leather spans, I would say, the majority of the foot where it matters, especially on the medial side, going all the way to the back of the heel. The cutoff point is more towards the midfoot on the lateral side, and then it transitions into what is basically a mesh type material with a little bit of extra padding that's there mostly for the sake of structure. Doesn't really matter though, it gets the job done. The touch on the ball provided by this leather is quite good. It's very, very soft despite not being necessarily the most premium leather that money can buy, but the price point does reflect that. And it's also relatively thin. So despite looking like it might be heavily padded, this is actually the least padded of the 3 leather boots that I'm going to be showing you in this video. They also added a little bit of kind of like a sandpaper gritty texture as a protective layer running through the forefoot and toe box area, which is typical of a lot of indoor boots. The tongue and lacing system do run directly down the middle. It does feature a regular tongue, but the tongue, unlike the FG Legend 8 Pro, is a padded mesh material, which I can't say that I'm crazy about, but I think it does also make sense for this type of application. I just wish it would have been a little bit thinner, but I do like what they did with the tongue to kind of keep it centered, where if you look here, when it's got a little stirrup on either side of the tongue, so it can actually move from side to side as you're playing in the boots, which is a cool little feature. Moving to the rear, it of course does feature a low cut design, which is not unlike any other variation of the Tiempo. The heel liner is this kind of soft kind of mesh material, which isn't the best in terms of wear I've found, but it is quite comfortable. Can be a little bit slick depending on what socks you're using though. And then the insole is fully glued in, so you cannot remove it. You could if you really wanted to, but it would take a lot of effort and it's probably not worth it. And then as for the midsole and outsole, this too uses React foam as a cushion setup running through the heel, midfoot, and then tapering off quite significantly through the forefoot. These offer a little bit more underfoot cushion, I would say, versus the React Gato in terms of just being a little bit thicker all the way through. It also features a rubber lip running all the way through the forefoot and toe box area, almost right to the heel on the medial side, which has Obviously the added durability benefit, because rubber is just a lot more durable than soft leather or mesh would be. And then the outsole, this being the indoor variation, does feature a traction pattern that is kind of similar to what you find on the heel of the React Gato, but it just runs throughout the entire foot. It's decent traction. Again, if the cord is really dusty, you're gonna have to constantly wipe, but it's a nice dense traction pattern that again is nice and durable, and as long as the cord is clean, actually provides pretty decent traction. Also, something to note regarding this versus the other three in the video is that this is the only variation that's actually available with a turf outsole. So if you need a turf variation, aside from the indoor model that's available, you do have that option. At $110, they offer the Lunar Gato 2, which is here brand new in the latest Lunar Gato 2 colorway, but is far from a brand new pair of indoor boots from Nike, because originally the Lunar Gato 2 came out in 2013. The reason why I'm holding a new colorway here is about a year ago, they decided to bring it back, and it's been available in new colorways ever since. And I'm okay with that, because it's actually a really unique pair of indoors. For a very long time, basically up until the release of the React Gato, this was my all-time favorite indoor boot for a couple different reasons. The first thing is the very unique leather upper that has this beautiful quilted stitch pattern that I'm personally a big fan of, but it's not calfskin, it's not kangaroo leather, it's goat leather. And no, this is not the skin from Cristiano Ronaldo, it's the skin of an actual goat. It is extremely soft. It provides a phenomenal touch on the ball. I love the positioning of the leather spanning the entire midfoot area and then cutting off at this point here on the lateral side. The only issue with this leather is it's not the most durable, and not so much in regards to tearing holes through the upper. That's likely not going to be a concern. But what I found with a lot of Lunar Gato boots as you wear them is that the color and the dye actually seems to wear off. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm going to assume that that's part of the reason why we don't see goat leather boots on any other models from Nike. But in terms of the touch provided, as long as you're not too concerned about aesthetics, the leather feel that this provides is phenomenal. It also has a gritty, protective, sandpaper-like texturing running through the forefoot and toe box area like you see on a lot of indoor boots. The rest of the upper is fairly straightforward. You can see it transitions from white leather into Cardinal Red Hyperfuse. You can see the logo right there. And it is a thin mesh with kind of fuse overlays, so like really thin layers of plastic that actually allow for a little bit of ventilation. You can actually see my thumb on the inside as I move it through the open ventilated area. So there's a little bit of breathability to these boots that you won't necessarily find from the other three in this video. Central lacing system with the shorter setup as well, just to again give you as much free kind of touch on the ball in this area of the foot without any kind of obstruction. The tongue is a padded mesh material, which again, I'm not in love with. I really would have liked to have seen that be in a leather material. It does feature a standard low cut design, and you'll find that it's very similar layout to the React Gato in that it's this soft kind of mesh material on the sides, and then a really soft synthetic suede at the back, which I'm personally a big fan of. The insole, that is also fully removable. I'll give you guys, it's not fully removable, but there's a little bit of these strings here. Now I can take it out. You can see it is a standard mesh material with this red kind of, I guess, ortholite style foam. That's to me what it feels like. Moving to the midsole and outsole, because these came out in 2013 originally and Nike hasn't changed anything about them, it does not feature React cushion, but instead Lunar Lawn, which was previous to React, kind of the flagship foam cushion material from Nike that they were using on their indoor football boots. And it's noticeably thicker through the heel area, where in comparison to React, this definitely seems to have a little bit of a more kind of soft sink into the floor type of cushion, if that makes any sense at all. But it also tapers quite a lot, where there's a lot of Lunar Lawn through the heel, but a lot less of it through the forefoot and toe box area. You're gonna find that it does have a rubber lined lip through the forefoot as well as the toe box area, but unlike the other three boots in this lineup, it does have the extra nylon stitch for the sake of durability, which is actually a nice thing to see. So sole separation in this area of the foot is extremely unlikely to happen because of that. And then the outsole, this being the indoor version of the Lunar Gato, which is the only variation they've ever made. No turf model is available. It's probably the weakest point of this boot, where I just don't think that this traction pattern is all that effective. It's very, very dense. This pattern that they've used right here, while durable, doesn't actually provide great traction unless the courts that you're playing on are extremely clean. And then finally, if you're on a tighter budget, for $85, you can get the Premier 2 Sala, which for the price has a really nice combination of classic and modern features you'd expect to find on a pair of indoors in 2020. Now the upper is noticeably different from the other boots that are leather in that this has a little bit of a suede-like appearance to it, and that's basically what it is. Think of very short-haired suede. That's called nubuck, which is what this material is. It's very soft, has some nice padding to it, and because of this nubuck finish, it does provide a little bit of additional grip on the ball, although be aware, not so much in this colorway because it's a little bit darker, but in some of the lighter colors, especially if you play in any kind of wet playing conditions outdoors, it can get a little bit stained and gross looking. It's not necessarily going to affect the performance, but this is definitely one of those materials that I think is best suited for use exclusively indoors, away from the elements and away from any kind of moisture or dirt. Nonetheless, the touch and feel is really, really good. It obviously features a very similar stitching pattern to what you're going to find on the standard Nike Premier 2 football boots, and honestly is pretty close to those in terms of overall softness. Has a nice padded leather-like sensation to it, and they do continue that nubuck into the heel area, which is more so for the sake of looks than anything, but it is quite a premium touch. In between those two pieces of material, you're going to find a padded mesh, which is pretty straightforward, provides nice structure, has some good softness to it. You of course have the larger kind of old school Nike swoosh of the Nike Premier on either side in a synthetic leather material, which again, pretty much just there for the sake of cosmetics. A fairly standard central lacing system with a padded mesh tongue. Again, very straightforward. Moving towards the heel, you're going to find a full synthetic suede liner, which I am personally a very big fan of. This probably has the best heel liner out of all four of these boots, despite being the cheapest, at least in my opinion. And then the insole, fully removable, also taken straight from the Nike Premier 2. It's got this more matted kind of mesh finish to it that has a little bit of, I guess, grip against your socks versus being perfectly smooth, and it's made from a single layer of this black foam. And then moving to the midsole and outsole, this too is only available in an indoor variation, and it too features a lunar lawn cushion setup. If you're familiar with your Nike indoors, then you'll recognize this outsole because it's been around for quite some time. For those that remember, in 2014, the indoor variations of the OG Magista Obra featured the exact same outsole amongst some other indoor models. So it's a lunar lawn cushion setup where, again, there's definitely more thickness through the heel and midfoot versus what you're going to find through the forefoot. So you sit a little bit higher off the ground. It also features a rubber lip running all the way through the forefoot and toe box area, which is nice to see from a durability standpoint. Some interesting little texturing right here, which I always thought was a neat little addition. And then the outsole features a traction pattern that's made up of basically little hexagons that are all intertwined together. Very difficult to see it properly because of the kind of camo rubber outsole that they've gone for here, but it's actually a pretty decent traction pattern. Again, if it's a little bit dusty, you're going to have to constantly wipe, but as long as the cord is clean, it provides pretty decent traction and is also remarkably durable, very solid, very consistent all the way through. So because of that, I just find the traction to be a little bit more consistent, especially when compared to the Lunar Gato 2. So starting with the two most expensive options, I have the React Gato here on my right foot and the Legend 8 Pro on my left foot, both paired with some Pure Grip socks in black, which are my own brand of grip socks, available for just $14.99 in 9 different colors, available now at puregripsocks.com. If you're interested in some, there will be a link to that website down below in the description. Nonetheless, both of these boots feel really good. The first thing that I'll say is, despite the outsole designs being very different between these two boots, they actually feel fairly similar on feet. There's an argument to be made that the React Gato feels a little bit better through the heel. It just has a little bit more of a bounciness to it. But in general, the outsoles of these two boots feel almost identical, which is somewhat surprising. You wouldn't really know that unless you had one on either foot. As far as the uppers are concerned, that's where there's some pretty significant difference. Of course, you go with a knit upper on the React Gato and a calfskin leather on the Legends, both of which feel really good. These are both, I would say, the least bulky or least padded boots of the 4 in this video. So if you like that sock knitted sensation, then I would definitely go for the React Gato. This is arguably one of the best knitted uppers on any football boot period right now. It feels phenomenal. And then the leather upper on the Legend 8 is really soft. And of course it's leather, it softens up even more as you break them in. They form to the shape of your foot. really, really nicely. So both in terms of out-of-the-box comfort are fantastic. No complaints from me there. As far as width is concerned, they both have some decent width to them. I would say the React Gato is a little bit wider in terms of its base shape, but both of these boots, especially with their central lacing systems, should fit pretty much anybody very comfortably after a little bit of wear time. And as far as sizing is concerned, Nike with their indoors, they seem to be running a little bit more snug than they have historically. I'll definitely say that the Legend 8 Pro does run true to size. I'm wearing my usual size 9.5 US and they feel pretty much perfect. Where the React Gato, these are a 9.5. They're quite snug. I've also worn the React Gato in a 10 and I just feel a little bit more comfortable going half a size up. So it's a matter of personal preference there, but if you don't like your boots to be overly snug, at least with the React Gato, I would recommend going half a size up. And then here are the two cheaper models, the Lunar Gato 2 as well as the Premier Sala 2. Both of which, again, feel really comfortable on feet. As far as the outsoles are concerned, they're both cushioned with Lunar Lawn foam, but you'll definitely notice that the Lunar Gato does have a little bit more compression to the foam itself. It's a little bit more bouncy, especially through the heel area. But in general, both of these outsoles still feel really good, although I don't think they feel as good as the React Gato outsoles on the two models that I just had on my feet. As far as the uppers are concerned, you're definitely gonna find that the Lunar Gato 2 feels thinner, it feels more flexible. This goat leather upper is phenomenal. It's the nicest leather out of any boot in this video. I really like it. Again, it has its downsides that I talked about, but in terms of touch on the ball and overall comfort, it's phenomenal. There's a reason why Nike brought this football boot back from 2013. As far as the nubuck upper on the Premier 2 Sala is concerned, it too is really soft. It has a good kind of comfortable feel on feet. Does require a little bit of break-in time, more so than maybe these and the Tiempos do, but in general, there's not much to complain about here, especially considering the midfoot is mesh. They don't feel stiff in any way at all. They're both really nice feels on feet, especially if you want something that has a slightly more padded sensation. As far as width is concerned, again, central lacing system, decent base width. They're gonna fit pretty much anybody, especially both being leather based, so they will stretch as you wear them in as well. And then as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing my usual size 9.5 US here in the Lunar Gato 2, and I think they fit pretty well. You're gonna have to account for the stretch in this goat leather because they do stretch a fair amount, but in general, I would recommend staying true to size with these. Where the Premier 2 Sala, mainly because of this lip that you have in the rubber and the way that it connects to the upper, you do kind of sit against that pretty closely. So I'm wearing these currently in my usual size 9.5 US, but definitely feel like I could do with half a size larger, a 10. So if I were to get another pair, I would personally recommend going half a size up in the Premier 2 Sala and then true to size in the Lunar Gato 2. So to conclude this video, I can tell you that all four of these are really solid options depending on what you're looking for and depending on what your budget allows for, which is great because we always like to see great options at the higher price points, but you also expect boots at higher price points to be really good. But it is really good to see that the lower price point options, especially the $85 option, is as good as it is. Nonetheless, because I said I would do it, I'm gonna rank them from best to worst based on my own personal preferences. At number one, it's easily the React Gato. This for me is the best indoor boot on the market right now, at least out of everything that I've tried. Big fan of those, very well put together. At the 2 spot, this is where I think I may be getting a little bit too personal because I think objectively, the Legend 8 Pro as an indoor boot is actually the second best in this lineup. But my heart tells me the Lunar Gato 2 at the 2 spot because I just love the feel of the goat leather upper. They're so comfortable. The traction's not great. The durability is a little bit questionable at times, but I just really like them. And considering they're a little bit cheaper than the Legend 8, I can let it slide. So 1, 2, 3, the Legend 8 is a great pair of indoors, and I think for those of you that are looking for something a little bit more modern and sleek feeling from an indoor boot with a leather upper, you'll probably actually prefer the Legends over the Lunar Gato. And again, I think there is definitely benefits when it comes to overall traction as well as the newer cushion setup. And then of course at the 4 spot, the Premier 2 Sala. I know it's last place, but it's still a really good football boot, all boots considered. All things considered, especially because they're so much cheaper than the other 3. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in any of these boots for yourself, Links to get them are down below in the description. Those are going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes to pick them up below their normal retail prices. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comment section, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.